Victimology is the study and examination of every facet of someone's lifestyle, their background, their health, and their physical characteristics. Why do we look at victimology? Really, by looking at someone's background and looking at their personality, they could be at higher risk of becoming victims, such as if they're a drug dealer, or if they're homosexual, or if they are a prostitute. It seems odd with some of those that they'd be higher victims, but I'll explain in the coming slides why those individuals tend to be victims more of the time than other individuals with different backgrounds. So basically, investigators use victimology because it provides an insight to how the offender thinks. It also can help us determine how the offender is acting, and we can predict this behavior, if it's going to continue, who their next victim might be, and we can stop them before they take another victim. It gives us details of the victim's personality in conjunction with the crime scene. And it also shows us the risk the offender was willing to take when they attacked them. Did they attack them right in daylight? Did they lure them in by having them take sleeping pills? How did the offender go about attacking this person? And often, victim profiling is really overlooked, but it can really be a key link into finding their offender. So what victimology provides investigators, it provides them with the context of the crime, a connection between the victim and between the victims and the offenders. A lot of times the victim has met their offender before, so that's why this is a key link that they need to find. And it provides the investigator with direction. Without this, there could be endless different leads and different directions that investigators take it on. Investigators can also determine then the method of approach that the offender took, as well as the method of attack and the risk assessment that the offender took. So what is the method of approach? How does the offender get close to the victim? Do they hang out at the same bar? Do they hang out at the same bathhouse? Do they frequently drive around looking for hitchhikers? How does this offender get their victims? So it provides clues on the offender's social skills, physical build, and their ability to charm and manipulate. So there's 3 different types of approach. There's con, surprise, blitz. These can either be on their own or they can be in conjunction with one another. So at con, the offender deceives a victim into believing an imaginary situation exists. So this is like online dating. He builds this relationship or she builds this relationship for months, and then when they finally meet, the person has trusted them, and that's how they lure them into unfavorable positions, or lowering the victim's really guard makes it much easier for them to be attacked. The example I provide is a delivery or maintenance man gains access to your house or other residents, or is wearing a cast and requests help. Should say man, not main. But so you trust that a delivery or maintenance guy is there to help you. You don't really think that they're there to attack you, or you don't really think someone who's handicapped is going to hurt you. So these are just ways that people kind of con or deceive, or like the situation where I said that they're online dating and they build this trust with the person, and that's why the victim easily lets their guard down. Surprise, just it happened by surprise. So the offender lays waiting for their victim, then quickly subdues that person. So maybe they're waiting in the bushes and they know this person gets out of work late every night and walks by themselves. So they may be uncaring about the presence of witnesses. Example, the offender waits in the bushes for a woman to walk to her car alone. She is looking for her keys, and when he unexpectedly comes out behind her, he steals her purse. Blitz, the offender rapidly and excessively uses force to quickly overcome the victim's defense and to get control of the situation. The blitz is always described as an attack that begins with the surprise approach, or one that the victim is unaware of. So the offender physically attacks a woman looking for her keys. So it's the situation where maybe they put a chemical on a cloth so that they can throw it over their mouth and real quick have the victim pass out. So they did surprise them, so they used that approach, but they also used blitz. Victimology also looks at the method of attack. So best described in relationship to the degree of force used, and the presence of any weapons. So what did they use when they attacked their victim? So attacks may range from mild, so was it just verbal, or to severe, where it was a physical assault. So degree of attack can change depending on the events. It is important to evaluate attacks carefully over time. They could escalate, providing more information of the offender and the victim. So some examples that I have here is Jeffrey Dahmer. You've heard of him probably before. May 20th, 1991, he met Raymond Smith at a tavern. He approaches him, offers him $50 to come back to have sex at his place. Method of approach is a con. Dahmer used a ploy to get the victim to lower his guard and follow him back to his apartment. The ploy that he used was they were drinking at the bar. He slipped sleeping pills into his drink. When they arrived back at 3 a.m., Smith stated that he would not be staying long for $50, and Dahmer asked him to stay the night. So keep in mind, Smith already is a form of a prostitute. He's doing this for money. Smith said it would cost a lot more and was assured that he would get the rest in the morning. Dahmer went into the kitchen where he mixed up a concoction of alcohol and sleeping tablets. Within a half an hour, Smith was unconscious and Dahmer strangled him on the floor. Even though the victim was unconscious, this still constitutes an attack. In this case, is best described as a blitz, because at first he kind of surprised him and then he got forceful, physical with him. So risk assessment, determining the risk of a particular person becoming a victim of crime. So the Smith guy I just talked about before, he went into Dahmer's house because he was a prostitute. He was working for money. That's going to put you at higher risk. Often something that the victim had done or was involved in had escalated their risk of becoming a victim of that crime. So factors may include, like I said, prostitution, if you're excessive drunk, if you're hanging out at bars a lot, drug use, or traveling alone late at night. Evaluating risk also includes the examination of the risk of an offender was willing to take to get this victim. So looking at the risk levels, so there's 3 levels. There's low, medium, and high. They all refer to the degree of chance someone has of becoming basically a victim based on their social life, their background, their profession. So example of high risk is prostitute, because they're highly exposed to many different strangers on a nightly basis. Often these people are involved with drugs. They may be low priority in the eyes of the police and might have been gone missing for a long time. Also, usually people who are in the prostitution profession, their family also might not notice that they're gone. Examples of someone who's a low risk is someone who has a steady job, they have lots of friends, someone's going to notice right away if they're gone, they rarely travel alone, they have a predictable schedule, and they have a predictable travel schedule. So the risk also involves a victim's personality. So examples are if they are angry or they're impulsive or if they have low self-esteem. One may be less aware of their surroundings or may not be expected to be home at particular times depending on their personality. So risk levels. So the offender. So we look at their MO. So the MO refers to the nature and the extent of the skill, planning, and precautionary acts taken by the offender before, during, and after the crime. Refers to those things that the offender does to reduce his or her own risk of being disturbed or apprehended. So the MO usually includes offenders who show a high amount of skill and planning. Offenders who show a low amount of skill and planning. Now, offenders who have low amount of skill and planning, usually they're going to be caught pretty quickly. It's the ones who have very elaborate plans that are harder to catch. Incident risk, so subjective because the risk is perceptive, and the risk level may change with the situation depending on who their victim is.